I'm Philip, and this afternoon I've seen that Revopoint announced a new Revopoint Trackit SR. I initially the main feature they announced was the wireless capability, and I was a bit sad, I would say, about my original Trackit already becoming succeeded. But there is a bit more to the comparison you have to think about, and you have to understand before deciding which one of these two tracking scanners you want to buy, because at the current time those two are still by far the cheapest option on the market for tracking scanners. So the next one is, I think, like the FreeScan Nova, used for roughly 30,000 euros, and the Trackit is 4.5 grand roughly, and the SR is roughly 3.5 grand in the pre-order. And what you can immediately see here in the comparison of these two. So what I will do, I will first do here like a short looks comparison, I would call it, and then we will dive a bit deeper on the webpage of the Trackit SR, where they basically show a bit of the features, and I will show you, explain a few of the features and my opinions about them, and then we will dive in a spec comparison. So what you immediately notice is this tracker part itself here, and these two. On the SR, it is much smaller, and also the camera section seems to be a bit smaller, but mainly the main body seems to be smaller. And this, I guess, will also come in that you need maybe less calibration, because the big case of the Trackit or of the tracker may be a bit of a problem for calibration actually, or may create the need for relatively often calibration when moving between different environments. Because what's quite interesting, so this is already, I would say, revision 2 of the tracker. My Trackit, so I got it in the Kickstarter pre-order, and it doesn't have the gap here, and the whole module on the top is roughly 10 centimeters longer. I saw it on the Formnext last November and talked a bit with the guys at the booth, and they told me that they reduced the size to decrease the creep of the material and make it a bit more form or temperature stable. But it supposedly also has a very minuscule impact on the accuracy, but still within spec. So the next difference, I would say, they now don't advertise it with the dual axis gimbal anymore for scanning or for the layout. So while scanning, you really shouldn't use the dual axis gimbal, because it has a bit of play and it's only used for the calibration anyways. So while scanning, remove it. I use I have a ballpoint head between track and the gimbal to freely move it around. And the next difference is the centerpiece, or the hand piece. And as you can see between the both two, the Trackit, it has I would say a unibody housing. So even like these marker domes are part of the molded carbon, or the foam carbon, whereas here on the SR they seem to be like plastic cups or inlays that are added to a central frame made of carbon. This is a bit more in line with other designs from like Shine 3D or the Nimble Track series, and it looks a bit smaller, but especially about scan area and scan depth field, we still have to talk, because especially with the tracking. So short spoiler, the smaller tracker size will also go in comparison with the I would say smaller tracker area. And of course, on the scanner itself, here you can see a bit in the picture that there are 4 laser emitters, so we gained parallel lines. But now let's move to the website of the Trackit SR, and I would say the main two new features are wireless scanning. So I will now change it to English, so this maybe a bit more understandable for you. So Trackit SR, here we have it. So first, most interesting thing for me is it being wireless. So we have seen with the with the Metro Y series and the Pop 4 that Revopoint can do wireless laser scanning. And what's very nice to see it that they finally just use a normal, I think it's a 21700 cell from the size that's just inside the handpiece of the scanner. So no external power bank needed, it's just inside of the tracker. So this is quite nice to see. And here they announce 2.5 hours of battery life. Okay, the weight roughly a kilogram, very nice. So with the original Trackit, also the handpiece is quite comfortable to hold. And then the accuracy is, I think it's even the same with the original Trackit. And then for the what's interesting for the laser modes, you can see they announced like triple blue laser modes. We have like 30 crossline lasers that they actually announced for detail capture, fast scanning with the paralines, and dipole scanning with single lines. So this is a bit of like a different approach I would market it, or I have noticed in recent times, but the specs actually support this kind of advertisement of the laser modes. Then what's also quite nice to see, the SR supposedly supports multiple tracker station setups. What could be interesting here for this like multi setup, that if you have now a look a bit at the 3D model, that the gimbal itself has marker points on it. I don't know if they are part of this, I would call it multi tracker setup, but it's at least interesting to see. So, and here on the website you have like a 3D model of the tracker. What's still not completely apparent for me for the tracker, it may or will also need a battery compartment if it is also wireless. So both of them are supposedly wireless. So maybe somewhere here we have like a battery compartment. So I hope it's also just using a internal 21700 cell. But this is still one of the parts that's a bit uncertain at the current time. So there are not like units out there. I haven't seen any units out there, or even at like latest pictures from different trade fairs. So what's also quite interesting, so they now advertise a built-in active heating to reach thermal stability in 2 minutes. So this is quite an improvement from the original Trackit, I would say, because with it, it sometimes took quite a long time to reach thermal equilibrium. And this was the case for the calibration process. So you have to wait until it settles to its well-being temperature, and then you can start calibrating. But this also applies for the scanning part. And with these tracker systems, you have basically two scanning setups in one. So you have the laser scanner and the handpiece, and the big tracker is basically an additional 3D scanner that just is tracking or scanning the handpiece. And it's a bit more temperature reliant than I've seen on like the only marker-based laser scanners, for example. So when in the winter, I've used the Trackit in like a very cold garage. I think it was like 5-degree ambient temperature. And I calibrated it in this temperature, and then a week later I tried to use it in a heated expo space with I think 20 degrees inside or 25 degrees inside. I had significant problems with scanning until I recalibrated it again at the new temperature. But the the software tells you to recalibrate, but it still is quite a hassle. And this is supposedly, from the advertisement for the SR, also improved. So I think the texture tracking, I guess it will be the same to the normal Trackit, from my understanding. If you now maybe have a quick look at what's inside the box, it's quite similar to the Trackit, but what's different is we now only have one dual axis turntable. So I guess it's maybe only used for the tracker and not for the scanner, but we'll see. And what's also interesting, we have like a few more cables, or I think it's the scanner PC cable now. This is interesting if like we have like the scanner cable between the tracker and the scanner. We have the tracker PC cable, and now we already have included a scanner PC cable, so you can use the handpiece standalone without the tracker, or of course you could use it with wireless. Then you have 2 included batteries, so this maybe is an additional sign that the tracker will also be wireless, but I'm not completely sure. But the other, so this and this, so all these accessories seem quite similar to the regular Trackit. And now there's also like the CMM edition. So this is like the ball plate as an add-on. So I also have the ball plate, and I say that it is like a properly certified ball plate. So the certification isn't like on the website, but if you write a support, you get certification information about it, and it's like, I think mine is like in 3 micron extended uncertainty, roughly, of their like reference measurement. And basically for the scan process or the CMM process, you scan the ball plate or 2 spheres, and then you have a plugin in the RevoScan software that allows to automatically extract the center sphere distance, and it compares it to the nominal, and then you get like a go or no-go value of the accuracy. So on the specs we will look later, and still now I will have another look at the website that shows the, let's see, is there this one that shows a few more things, because I think I've been missing some pictures I've been seeing more early about the calibration process, but maybe this was on another platform. So basically it also, like, there was a sort of picture that, maybe here. Yeah, now, okay, this is the real information side. So as you can see, there's a bit more detailed, but here you can see like the on-site accuracy verification. This is the ball plate. Then we have like the marker scan. So so this is the wireless. So here you can see the battery inside it. And now here is this one is interesting. So 50% faster calibration workflow compared to others. The reference value would be interesting. So my experience, the Revopoint Trackit itself takes roughly half an hour, or maybe even 50 minutes with like a bit of downtime between the calibration steps, because you're not wanting to like stand all the time next to the scanner while calibrating. So if the 20 minutes calibration is for the whole system, it's quite attractive. So now I think we have all the relevant parts here, and now we can dive into the spec comparison. And before talking about specs in detail, a quick overview of what's relevant. So for the pros and cons between the Trackit SR and the normal Trackit. So a big pro, of course, with the wireless connection. We have support for multi-trackers. Scan speed is also a bit faster, and the tracker is more compact, and also the handpiece. And you have like the whole bundle of the Trackit SR in one big carry case. So this is one I missed a bit or didn't talk much about. But with this, I only have 1 carry case and not 2 carry cases like with the normal Trackit. But on the con side, we have a much smaller tracking volume to the Trackit. So the Trackit volume basically describes the volume where the tracker can see the handpiece. So this is for the markerless laser scanning, the relevant part. So the scanner itself, so the handpiece has scanning volume or scanning area where the laser scanner is seeing it's like per frame, but the same applies for the tracker. So basically you can imagine it like the area where you can move with the handpiece without moving the tracker. Then for like the multi-tracker support, the price of the standalone tracker is still a bit unclear. So optimally, I think I would say from my gut feeling, maybe $2,000, roughly half the price of the kit. So if you need multiples of them, it can get more expensive quite fast. And the calibration is still a bit uncertain, especially since they left out the second dual axis turntable. So now this is the whole specs in overview of both of them. So on the left, the Trackit SR, and on the right, Trackit. You can either pause here, or I will focus a bit on the relevant parts. So first, let's look at the scanning speed. So the SR up to 2 million points per second, and on the original up to 1.5 million. And here you can see like the 16 blue parallel laser lines, they are indicated as the far mode. So it's quite interesting. And the same shows in the working distance. So the cross lines and single lines as 200 to 400 millimeters working distance, similar to the Trackit or even to the Metro Y Pro series and the Pop 4 series. But the parallel laser lines now goes up to 500 millimeters. So this is already a good bit of an improvement. And in general, these specs remind me a bit of would say mesh up of the Metro Y Pro and of the Metro Y. So I think they just combined the hardware they had from the recent scanners. Then now to the accuracy and the working distance. So this is not to the accuracy. So the part size is a bit smaller for the SR, so it's up to 4 meters. So in comparison to 6 meters for Trackit, but you have to keep in mind this is more like of an artificial limitation. You can scan larger parts, but at some point it just gets impractical to scan so, because with a smaller tracking frame or tracking volume you have to position the tracker more often. Accuracy is actually the same for both of them, so 0.02 millimeters plus 0.04 millimeters per meter scanned. And now the main distances is here the working distance. So this is the distance where the tracker can see the handpiece. So on the SR we have 800 to 250 millimeters, whereas on the normal Trackit we have 1,500, so 1.5 meters to 4 meters. So for me personally, I use the Trackit mainly for scanning car parts, car bumpers. With the Trackit, it's just enough to scan the whole car side in one position. So with the SR, this will not be possible without either using multiple trackers or tracking units, or using multiple scan mode. Now about the single area capture or single capture area. So this is a good bit improved of the Trackit SR actually. So if you look at numbers, we have roughly 0.1 square meters at 500 millimeters, so with the parallelizer mouse, versus 0.069 square meters. So the normal Trackit is roughly 70% of the SR. But now looking at the tracking frame, so at the nearest distance of 800 millimeters on the SR and 1,500 millimeters on the original Trackit, we have 0.33 square meters versus 1.39 square meters. So this is the OG Trackit is more than 4 times larger, and on the maximum tracking frame where we have at 2.5 meters on the SR and 4 meters on the OG Trackit, it just roughly just the same, so roughly 3.7 square meters versus 9.3 square meters, so a factor 2.5 in between them. And for the tracking volume, it's the same story. So on the SR we have 3 cubic meters, and on the original Trackit 11 cubic meters. So for me, also in the beginning when I saw the SR, it wasn't clear for me that the difference would be this vast. And also on the product page, it's not explicitly mentioned. It's a bit buried down there in the specs, and you just have to compare the specs. So this is the reason why I do the video. So the SR is a bit of a different use case. So from my perspective, I would say that the SR is excellent. Like if you had big propellers you want to scan, you have molding up to maybe 2 meters you want to scan with very high accuracy, whereas the OG Trackit is more like for car parts. So what's quite interesting, so now if I go back in the browser, so if we now have a look back at the this multi-position scan picture here. So when I was at Formnext, I also visited the guys at NimbleTrack. And yeah, it looks, so the form factor of the nimble track is quite similar. And they also have like this multi-tracker measurement. And I think the nimble track also have, I think, 2.5 or 3 meters of tracking distance. And the guy at the booth are very proud of it. And that like a lot of people are quite impressed, especially in mold making industry. And that's like their sweet spot for what they need. And for me, it was a bit on the like smaller side for car parts. But of course, as always, the scanner is like fit for the use case, or needs to be fit for the use case. So I hope you could learn a bit or got a few insights about the new Trackit SR versus the original Trackit. And I hope at some point or in the near future there will also be videos about it, so people can see it in action.